Jim Tierney founded Digital Anarchy in 2001 specifically to develop plugins to simplify creating visual effects. But recently he had a security experience that makes it worthwhile for us to talk with him on tonight's show. Hello, Jim. Welcome back.
Hey, Larry.
Tonight, we're talking about security, and you recently discovered that you were hacked. Tell me what happened.
So, we have the different parts of the Digital Anarchy website broken up onto different servers. The server that we use mostly just for file sharing, but in the past we'd used it to manage our newsletter list. And so we had the old software that we used for that still on that server. We hadn't used it for about 3 years, and we hadn't really done anything with it, including update it. And somebody managed to find it and make use of an exploit or something like that and get into it.
How did you find out that you'd been breached?
Well, they started sending out emails.
That's a really good indicator.
We had people like emailing us like, what is this? Is this from you guys? I'm like, no. So luckily in that case, since it's just a server we use mainly for file sharing and not for email, I could just go in there and turn off the mail service for the server. And, that stopped any other, abuse of the old email list, rather quickly. But, they still probably did get access to that email list.
Are you able to determine what kind of damage they did?
It's really just the email program, so we're assuming that they downloaded the email list, but we don't know that for sure. We do know that they sent out about half a dozen, phishing emails. The emails didn't seem like they were coming from us. It's not something we would have sent out. It's not like, hey, come download the latest version of Flickr Free for free, which if they were really smart, that's what they would have done. Mm-hmm. Because I imagine a whole bunch of people would have clicked on the links. What they did was send out a super spammy phishing email, and most people were like, yeah, this doesn't look legit.
So what did you do first to respond, and then second, what did you do to recover?
First thing was to turn off the mail service for the server so that, no more emails could be sent out. The second thing was the next day was just send out an email to our current list, which we run through a third-party mail service, so hopefully it's a little bit more secure. Just explaining what happened, explaining why they got the weird emails, explain that was a server that we don't use anymore, that it didn't affect all of our customers, but that, they probably did get access to the email list, so it's possible they could try emailing to that list in the future, but just not through our server.
What can we learn from your problems?
Keep software updated, especially if you have stuff that's sitting on a dedicated server that you're managing and, isn't managed by somebody else who supposedly will be keeping things up to date. We had this happen with our WordPress blog as well. That got hacked like a year and a half ago just because we hadn't updated WordPress and somebody just used an exploit to get into that. So the really critical thing is if you're managing a website, you really need to keep all of the software on that website up to date, including stuff that you just don't use anymore, you haven't thought about it. Just because you don't use it doesn't mean that somebody can't just ping every address looking for like xxx.com/sendstudio, which was the name of the email program, and just send that out to a million servers, and anything that doesn't 404, they're like, oh, hey, we can get in here. And there's people doing that, just constantly pinging like a million different servers to see if they get a hit, and they get a hit, and next thing you know, they're in and sending emails. So, and the same works for WordPress or Joomla or any of the, big platforms out there. There's hacks for these things, and if you don't keep them up to date, you run the risk of having somebody bust into your site and start posting random things or emailing stuff. The other thing that we do with Digital Anarchy is all of the different aspects of the website itself, the blog, the email service, the store, they're all on different services so that if somebody breaks into one, they can't get access to everything else, or it makes it much, much harder to get access to everything else. It's basically just, try and defend yourself as well as you can and make it as difficult as possible for, people to get access to stuff.
How did your customers handle it?
Pretty well. I mean, people kind of understand that stuff like this happens. Again, because we split things up, there wasn't any financial data that was lost or any other information. It was basically just the email addresses. And I think most people just assume that they're on 50 million spam lists anyways. A sad fact of our modern world. Since it was limited to just email addresses, and it really only affected about half of the current email list, because this, again, was a list that was 3 years old. Most people really appreciated me sending the email out like immediately, as soon as we found out about it, because I didn't want anybody going, either one, thinking we were spammers, or two, accidentally clicking on the email because they thought it was from us. A lot of people appreciated the immediate response instead of doing the Google thing and waiting 3 months. Right? So everybody's seeing it. We didn't really have any, real fallout from it. Just, people appreciate it, mostly thanking us for being upfront about what happened. And yeah, so I mean, it's really just being aware that you have to keep the software up to date, because there's always people fishing around for out-of-date WordPress instances or whatever. And, that's what most websites are built on these days.